She wrapped up. Don't worry about it. Just stand here, face the judge, please. Your Honor, back on the record with Kirk Banks, please. J320555 with Father Glenn Banks present and Mother Claire Banks in the lobby.
All right, thank you. Yes, one more time, please.
Okay. Your Honor, with the nature of the incident that happened and knowing that there's violence going on out there, we recommend this individual remain detained so as severity of the incident for safety of community and others.
Judge, we join in that request. Note, according to the declaration, parents and the victim were having a dispute over money. The young man got involved, essentially went to hit the victim, says he just punched the victim. Victim says he has a cut along his neck and went to the hospital. The young man says the only thing he had in his hand when he hit him was a cell phone. Police searched Dad's vehicle, found a screwdriver. We'd ask that he remain detained. We'd ask that you set the plea date for the 8-day plea date so that we can order the medical records and the police reports.
Ms. Smart?
Your Honor, I would ask that you consider releasing Kirk. He's 17 years old. This is his first petition. He has no history of violence whatsoever. As noted all throughout the declaration, this alleged victim was actually lunging at my client's mother, and my client reached out thinking that he was protecting his mother in defense of his mother. It's the only reason why this guy got hit. There was no knife recovered at the scene. My client, his dad, mom all denied that there was ever a knife pulled or used. And then even on page 2 towards the bottom of the declaration, the police officer says that he noted Kirk had very long fingernails with sharp edges, which I believe could have the capacity to create a laceration to a person's skin consistent with McCabe's injury. So obviously this was some sort of superficial scratch or mark on his neck. The police officer is noting himself that he thought it was consistent with his injury. With all that said, also my client, he's being homeschooled. He takes good grades, verified by tests online. Dad and mom are pursuing this guy in this fraud case. The FBI is involved. He's been a Senator Harry Reid. There's this long history with this guy, and we submit that this guy was trying to attack my client's mother, and he reached out trying to protect her. With all that said, we also have reference letters from the community on behalf of Kirk, and I would ask that you consider releasing him. He can be supervised by his father. Definitely, I understand that mom is very emotional because she feels like her son is only in this trouble because this victim tried to attack her and her son was protecting her. And if you feel like more supervision is needed at this time, I feel like he's definitely appropriate for the DRRP program. There's nothing in his history that shows that he wouldn't return to court. I'm sure father would be more than happy to bring him for his plea date, especially since the state is asking for an 8-day plea date in this matter. I know, Dad, did you want to address that? Your Honor, I believe Dad wants to share a little more.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. We've had a problem with this. We got a house with this rent-to-own, okay? And I'm a truck driver, and I work for R&L here in town. The guy says you come in, you put your $5,000 down minimum payment, and and pay first month's rent and everything. You can have a house, blah blah blah. We gave him $5,000, and come to find out that this guy, we found out from the neighbors that this guy's real shaky, and the FBI is involved in everything with this guy in this house, and we signed contracts with this guy. He never left us a copy or receipt or nothing. He said he'd mail everything to us and everything. He never did. We're contacting the U.S. Attorney General, Nevada State Attorney or whatever. And then we contacted the FBI in this, and they had us come out over on Lake Mead here in Martin Luther King at their office. They had us come down, and they wanted more information on this guy because he is under an ongoing investigation. They can't comment nothing to us because of it. But they could take out, our information, what he's done to us, what he's done to many other families. He's done it to 4 families just in the last 2 years on this one house alone. And if this guy takes all this down payment, then he keeps on a month-to-month rent. Then he keeps upping the payments so that families can't afford to live there and pay rent no more. Once you do that, you violated your contract because you got to move out. You can't afford to stay there. And he's getting away with this. And I guess from what we're hearing is that this guy's just barely he's within the law, because if it's his house, it's not his house, we found out, but he's the agent for the house, okay? Because they got all kinds of houses here.
Talk about your ability to supervise your son. And since you were there, your ability to supervise your son and all of that. With that, which actually happened with the incident.
Oh, with that Saturday, what happened? Okay, the guy wouldn't give us no contract or nothing. Finally, after 2 weeks of trying to call this guy, he said a guy named Scott, I talked to with that number that he gave us, answered the phone, and I said, do you work with this Mike guy? And he said, yeah, I know Mike, and I told him about the contract and so forth. He said that, well, it was mailed to you at that address. I said, we never received nothing, okay? And so he said he was going to bring out a copy of it on Saturday to us. This is like 2 weeks after we've been going on with this. And to us, so we could read it over, because I think we got like 72 hours right of rescission or whatever it is. And when we were there, we went to the mailbox from the house. It's like 2 doors down. There's a mailbox, big box, and Mike shows up. There was never no Scott showed up. This Mike shows up, the original guy. And he goes, here, I brought you a hand of your contract, and we started looking through it, and there was things changed on it. And we were arguing, well, we don't want the house, you know. I just want to get my money back. Because all I'm telling, I just want my money back. You know, I just want the house. And I'm standing, my wife's standing here, I'm here, Kirk's standing behind me. My wife, then he had a piece of paper with a return address. He said, here's my return address. I got 93 cents to mail your copy of your contract out. I got proof of that. I mailed it and stuff. And my wife took the paper and went to read it. He says, I need that paper back. And she says, well, I want to keep this, you know, for our records, that you sent it out and everything else from the mail company. And then he went to lunge at my wife, and this happened real quick. He went to lunge at my wife. Kirk was standing behind me. Kirk reached over here and pushed the guy. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then Kirk ran off because, you know, he's a kid. And then this guy goes, oh, it's assault, it's assault. And he runs around inside of his car. He gets in his car and drives off. Now, he's totally fine at this point. You know? This guy's a scammer. And so we get Kirk and that. I went to the North Las Vegas substation on Washburn over there, and I filed a report on the police about this incident right away. My wife and Kirk went over to a Subway to wait there, and then when I got there, the police said, "Well, if he pushed your wife, we can't take a police statement from you because it's your wife is the one involved." So I called my wife. She came to the police station. She filled out a report of the same thing. My mind's going nuts here. A report against him. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
A report against this guy for assault on my wife. He lunged at her. My wife, when she had this paper he wanted back. Now we know why he wanted that paper back. Because we got a call this morning from a guy saying, this is a storage locker. Okay? The office, he said he were in the Howard Hughes office, is a virtual office. You're not really there. They just got phones. You can use their address. You pay $100 a month. We're finding all this out. It's a virtual. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But you don't really have an office in the Howard Hughes building, but you're using their phone system, their P.O. boxes and everything. And the P.O. box is to a storage area. We found out the guy calls today. He goes, I'm getting mad at this. He says, we're getting all these flyers and all this stuff. He goes, and I keep trying to call this guy, can never get a hold of him. The same thing, I couldn't get a hold of this guy. Okay, he's a real sleazeball.
All right, thank you, sir.
And my son has never done nothing, sir, in his life. Never. He's a good kid.
Who's home during the day?
I am. I'm a truck driver. I work all night. My wife's home all night. I'm home all day because I sleep because I have to drive from here to L.A. and back every day. Okay, and I'm a truck driver. Okay. And my kid never, ever been in trouble. He was trying to protect his mom. He sees some guy lunging at his mother. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
And
I think he can be released on house arrest, DRP to supervise. He can't leave the house without one of you. You have to be with him at all times
yes,
if he
sir.
leaves the house.
I will do whatever the courts want, sir.
Okay. Who it's going to be?
July 20th.
Be disappointed.
Can I add one thing, sir?
Yes.
The last 2 weeks, we have done everything by law-abiding citizens. We've been in touch with Senator Reed's office, you know what I'm saying, to get this guy. What he's done to families and everything, it's just a shame. He's got over $5,000 of my money, and I'm poor. I work and I worked all my life and I'm broke. You know, I mean, go figure.
I understand.
Sir, Kirk is going to be released to you today, all right?
Oh, thank you.
He's going to be on DRRP supervision. Ms. McTeer runs the program. She'll work that out with you and let you know what all the parameters are, right? What we'll need you to do is take this paper to the probation intake window. And,
Okay.
it takes about an hour to process the young man out. When
Okay.
you're finished with that, you'll need to take this document to the public defender's office. Back out into the courtyard, last set of doors on the right side. See the business office, and I'll go over any additional documentation you might need. They'll talk to you about the $20 fee for processing all paperwork.
Okay.
Then they'll send you to get his attorney signed today before you leave his office.